All right, here we go. And for those of you who expected to see us at 10 o'clock, we are coming to you about 45 minutes early, just like we do in education. Sometimes we have to change things on the fly, and especially with the new technology and AI, like we're talking about today, sometimes you just have to change on the fly. And that's is what we are going to do today. We are coming to you a little bit early today because we're switching around the schedule. We have our next guest coming up, and then we have Andy Wallace coming up in about 20 minutes. So make sure to tune back in for that. If you don't get a chance to check us out because you were sleeping in and thought this was 10 o'clock, watch the replay. It's going to be live as soon as we are done. So we are excited to welcome in one of our featured speakers, the keynote up here in Maine just a few months ago, Carl Hooker. Carl, welcome in.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Glad to be a part of a record-setting day here in Maine. Not only because this is the first really AI conference of its kind, but there's also record-breaking weather taking place right outside the window today.
Yes, and it is a monster, and we braved it. You and I had to run from the car, but you have a little injury, so you did a little less.
Yeah, it's a serious pickleball injury. We won't get into it.
Those are tough. Those are tough for sure. So we are here live from South Portland High School. This is the first AI summit up here in Maine. Elevation. It's extremely exciting. We have the keynote coming up in about 45 minutes, so we're excited about that. But I know you do a lot of work in keynotes here up in Maine around the topic of AI. So for those who don't know you, share your work to get to where you are today.
Yeah, so 25 years in education, a lot of time as administrator or classroom teacher. We were probably the first, I think we were the first district in the state of Texas to go one-to-one iPads. This is 2010, 11, like when it had the fat charging cable still, and they just got the camera on it. So we're a little bit ahead of our time with that. That kind of get us on the map. But I mean, compared to the state of Maine, which has had the MLTI, the Maine Learning Technology Initiative, that's been out since 2001, I think, this state is really ahead of its time when it comes to the one-to-one ideas. I mean, they've been doing it for a lot longer than anyone else. So I learned a lot from a lot of people up here at Maine, which is ironic that I'm here now as a speaker. But so all that to say, yeah, we did a lot of work with the technology, learning what integration looks like, what are the downs and the highs and lows of it. I feel like we're going through the same thing right now with AI. It's just rinse and repeat. Instead of the App Store, it's the AI Store now, and it's how do we integrate this well? How's it going to affect learning? Same conversations we had a decade ago.
And what really impresses me, obviously, about the work that you do, but just even today's session, it's not just here's 10 tools for you. It's 10 tools to foster creativity. I do like, even from one of the first keynotes I saw from you, marrying ed tech and curriculum, like bringing things into the learning space. So when you look at your session today or the work that you do, how do you mix those tech tools with the classroom learning?
Yeah, I think it's important, first of all, to know that I don't know every subject and what every student is in the room. So, I mean, a lot of times teachers are high school teachers, elementary, middle school, whatever. And I'm like, and I always tell people, you are the content expert. You are the one that knows your content backwards and forwards. My job is to just give you some different ideas and tools and strategies for students to use to demonstrate their own learning and understanding. And I always say that it should be the students using it. It's not you have to learn this as a teacher tool. No, you don't have to learn it. It's worth give it to the students, let them figure it out. I will say with AI, it's a little different. I felt like with the App Store, it was like, have the kids try the app and we'll figure it out. With AI, it's more regarded, probably because of the data privacy concerns and just, generally, of course, the fear of AI and some of those things people are a little more guarded about. So in this case, I feel like we are really much focusing on the teachers first and saying, here are some tools that you can use. Like I know Jenny, who we just had on, has a magic tool, which is a great teacher tool, right? And it's not one that you would use a lot as a student, although you could. But I see a lot of teachers using it right now.
And I think, as you said, we just from Magic School. You're here from Texas. She's here from Texas. We have the keynote from Kentucky. I'm from Massachusetts. This is how passionate people are to learn from people and with people. And as you started to present on AI, which is so new, how have people really taken that in and made it their own?
It's interesting because I think if you look at the landscape or the timeline of AI over the last, let's say, since it got launched in November of last year, 2 years ago now, I think about that, it's been now more than a year with ChatGPT. The change has been from skeptical to afraid of it, to cheating is going to be the big thing.
Right.
And now we're heading in this next phase, which is the fear critical thinking loss, and creativity loss. Like those are I feel like so kind of the landscape as I travel around the country and talk about it, the mood and reaction changes for the teachers. Basically I'll ask the teachers like, what's concerned you the most? I do that every session I do, and it's always different. It's always like, oh, now it's creativity, critical thinking. Next year there's a fear that it'll take our jobs. I mean, that's coming up a couple of times too, which is interesting because there's actually an AI school in Austin right now that claims to have no teachers. It launched in October. It's a little different. I will just say, if you looked at the makeup of the kids that are attending it, you might guess where they're coming from. It's not underserved. It's very much students like that work. Their dad works at Tesla. Their mom works at Apple. Yeah. So it's interesting, but they do have teachers. They just aren't called facilitators.
Oh, this is what happens when we go live. Where is he?
He just left. He's going to walk behind.
Oh, he's back. He's back. This is what happens when we go live. What's up, man? It's good times.
You know what though? If you're in Maine and you don't see Dan Ryder, it's like there should be like a national Dan Ryder day.
Is there a flag? Is there like a special Dan Ryder flag?
Or a bandana or something, because he's always with the funny headshots. You ever see his selfies where he's always taking a selfie with his face looking the same at the top of his head? I think you've made it in life when you've coined your own selfie kind of pose, right?
I enjoy that. So I love when people tune in and have questions. Hear from Teresa. The move away from fear is where we as educators can really help. And before we jump into that, I think you did the work on this, writing about failing.
Yeah.
Fail. So how do you see that as we enter into this new realm of education, taking risks and trying and failing sometime?
Yeah, and it's tricky, those words. And, education, the F word, failure, does not really go over well. I think a lot of us say it, first attempt in learning, it sounds good. And I know a lot of people that have what I call a false growth mindset, where they really say, oh, growth mindset is what it's all about, but they don't actually exhibit it. Like they say that's important, but then they don't actually do it. I'm thinking mostly leadership. Teachers, they're just trying to get through their days a lot of the times. But I think if you can create an environment where it's okay and comfortable to say something different, think differently, think creatively, allow it to say something, allow a student to say something that may not be like the right answer right away. I think you invite more creativity and innovation to your classroom. So for me, the book Ready, Set, Fail was much about that. It was like, how do we create opportunities in the classroom for kids to take risks and fail? Because most of them, if you're not on a team sport, which about 80% of our students aren't on team sports, you don't have that opportunity to see what it's like to fail as a group. And I think that's a huge thing. I think that's a skill you need to learn early in life to how to recover, not just your individual failure, but team failure too. So the book is very much centered around like, let's create these sort of manufactured opportunities to take risks, fail, and then learn and recover and talk about what those risks are about. That's a big part of his reflection.
Yeah, and I think even today is a perfect example of that. This is the first time we, had, and I don't say we like I had anything to do with it, but Actum and the educators here in Maine had put this together. So that was a risk. And we had some, weather. We had to change the schedule. So that was a risk. We just did it. And one of the things we're learning is we just keep moving forward.
Yeah, there's 155 people registered for this. It's a Saturday in January in Maine. And they sold out, and they planned it during Actum in October. So that tells you how hot, first of all, how hot the topic is, but also kudos to the group that organized, Andy and the team, Liz, everybody, Mike, who organized all this, because they said, okay, we have this vision. Let's just put a date out there and a website. This is kind of how I did iPad Palooza way back in the day. I was like, it's going to happen. I'm just going to make a website and a date, and then you have to do it because people register.
Right, it becomes what you do, and I think you said is right. It's such a hot topic, and you've had some real experience not only speaking about it, but writing your most recent release, Learning Evolution, the new era of AI in the classroom. Share a little bit about what this book is and how it's helping educators.
It's tricky whenever you write a book about technology or any type of technology, especially AI that's changing every minute, that those books, you need to write a book that's somewhat evergreen, meaning I could pick it up off the shelf and the ideas and strategies behind it will last no matter what the tool's name is. So it's ChatGPT 4 today, maybe ChatGPT 40, in a few years. It doesn't matter because it's still about the strategy. So the first half of the book, it's a two-part book, really. The first half is really about strategies, goals, vision. What are we talking about? Bias. What are we talking about? The ethics of AI and all that. And then those discussions you need to be having with your students and your teachers. And then the second half is more tools focused, like how can we use this for social studies in a high school classroom? How can we use image generators to help students kind of graphically tell a fourth grade history project. So using different tools is really what the back half is about. And again, I use broad categories. So it's large language models. So it could be ChatGPT or Claude or Bard, whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's just like, this is the idea and strategy of how you're going to use it.
Yeah, and I think that's what's, since we've met, it has impressed me that it's not just about the tool, it's not just a how-to, it's about weaving it into the learning capacity. And from my background, coming as teacher, principal, and district administrator, that's the key to bringing the technology solutions in. So it's not just the 10 AI tools, it's the 10 AI tools to foster creativity. And I think that's critically important in all the work that you do. So what are you excited to take from today?
Well, like I said, it's such an ever-changing topic that I feel like there's so many new things. Like even last night, I learned about a new one before I was setting up for the session today. And I was like, you know what? It's a 10-tool session, but there's always things changing. Like Microsoft now has what it used to call Bing Chat, now it calls Copilot as of about a month ago. There's a new one I'm using called Hey Jen, which is really cool that I saw somebody is presenting on today. So I kind of looked at it beforehand. I thought, well, it might be a playground session. Because they do have a playground here, which is kind of neat too. And I'm doing a paddle for that. So it's just kind of a 15-minute idea, like here's a quick way to use this tool with your students, almost like a poster session. So I'm excited. I wish I was not doing the poster session because I want to go look at the other 10. They'll be in the same room, so I'll kind of peek over if no one's at my table. But that's a bad thing too about presenting. You know this too, is like you end up not getting a chance to sit and learn as much. But I'm excited to see Amanda's keynote. I've never seen her keynote. I've seen her speak and present. But she's doing a keynote in about 30 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you haven't had a chance to see Carl's work, make sure to check out the website below, carlhooker.com. You can see all his great work, plus his most recent release, Learning Evolution, which is online and live now. Go check that out. And if you don't follow him for some unknown reason, you should at Mr. Hooker. So thank you, Carl, for jumping in, switching your schedule to make this happen. And for all of you today, we only have one more switch. At some point, Andy Wallace will come strolling in here and we'll go live. If not, we're going to continue the schedule that's online. Look forward to seeing and continuing to learn from you, Carl, and from everybody here at this Learning Evolution here in May.
Elevation and evolution.
Elevation and evolution.
Yeah.
Have a good day, everybody. Stay dry if you're up here in Maine.
Yeah.